Yes, and I apologize that I'm now in a very gloomy, dark environment, but it's kind of fitting because I'm actually in Scotland and it's quite dark here, and we're definitely in peak autumn and just getting used to my first autumn in 3 years. Poor me,
Mm.
I know.
Oh,
um,
indeed.
so everyone can hear me, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Um, can you make me host again, Fern?
I sure can. Okay.
Just so I can put on some music if needed.
All right.
Oh, wow. I am like, have this perfect view outside the window of the full moon coming through the clouds.
Oh,
This
wow.
is,
Here we
let me
go.
actually show everyone here. There she is. Ooh.
Can you see it?
Yeah, right there. You see?
Oh, I see the lights and then I see this like other wow.
Yeah, it's
Beautiful.
it's hidden behind the sky.
It's the
It's
second.
definitely like
Yeah.
a Samhain, which is the Celtic Halloween kind of night here, which is amazing. Okay, great. Well, so nice to see everyone here, and so great to have my soul sister Fern here, who's going to be helping me co-host this beautiful webinar. And yeah, just really appreciate you taking your time. And if you have any friends who couldn't be here today, we are recording this, so we'll be able to show it on a replay soon after. And yeah, so how are you doing, Fern?
I'm doing amazing today. I was just in the ocean a little bit ago, so I feel fresh. We're packing. My partner and I are packing for LA right now, so packing all the instruments and trying to fit all the clothes in the singing bowl bag with the singing bowls, and then wrapping the Nagoni with my yoga mat, and wrapping the guitars and things with other clothing pieces to get as much as we can, because instruments are the most important, as you know, and then trying to pack
Life
everything around it. So
Life as sound healers. I
I
do often
know.
throw a little bit in the source resonance trainings about just those ins and outs, the miscellaneousness of being a sound healer, because when you're traveling around the world, if you get to that point where you want to have a career and such, there's definitely some good tips. And I've had to, learn the hard way because there's not a lot of us out there. But I've definitely learned how to be quite economical with it. And yeah, it's exciting that we can do that, right?
It's exciting. It's exciting to carry. This is my first time I've traveled with my crystal bowls. Like actually not out of in Costa Rica all the time, but like out of Costa Rica with my crystal bowls on the airplane. So this is like the time where all prayers are sent to make sure, well, they're padded with clothes, they'll be fine, but just that they allow them in the carry-on section, and all those little intricacies that you're just like praying as you go through security, that they don't need to take apart your shruti box, or all those things. So
I
yeah.
really enjoy it actually, because there's been many times when they open up my crystal bowl bag and they're like, "What is this?" Five crystal bowls like stacked like Russian dolls, and it's always it's always amazing. And people are always so curious, like sound medicine? What? I didn't even know
Yeah.
about that. So it's always handy to have a card on hand as well, because you never know who you're gonna just bump into and where your work
Mm,
will, how often will touch people.
that's amazing. And then you can
So
always play the
yeah.
instruments in a stressful situation in the airport. I've taken my flute out several times
Oh,
and played it in line.
100%. It's our duty. If you get initiated into being a sound healer, it's your duty to bless the
Yeah.
world with sacred sound at unsurprising moments. It's super fun and enchanting, and that was the whole reason I started the Vibrations of Peace initiative, where we take crystal bowls into parks and we hook up to a global network of people, and we do these beautiful 30-minute prayers for peace with crystal bowls all over the world. And that's another thing that I like to talk about during the training and such. But why don't we come into a quick meditation just to bring the coherence into our fields? So I'm just going to play some music in the background, and let's just take a moment to come into it. And the song that I'm playing is an instrumental version of the song Gaia Ma from my new album, On All Creation, and it has this beautiful frequency in the background of 111 hertz, which has been discovered to be the standing wave frequency in a lot of ancient temples all over the world. So take a moment just to close your eyes And start to find a beautiful mindful connection to your breath. And start to breathe deeply into your body and connecting your breath with the mindset of reverence. Bringing a sense of reverence to your body, to your being. Just letting the inhale and the exhale be natural. And letting it deepen into the belly. In and out through the nose if you can. Take a moment to tune your awareness inside of yourself. Just do a gentle scan of the body, just letting your awareness bloom in all directions throughout the body. And allow your awareness to invite the body into a deeper state of softening, serenity, relaxation, letting go of tensions. Let's activate one of the most basic sound healing tools, which is the sighing breath. So just let a few exhaling sighs come out with the intention to just let any of that tension that you may have encountered within to just be released through the sigh. And don't be afraid to be very vocal with your sigh, very animated. Let's do one more, digging a little deeper into the tensions within. And releasing. And letting your awareness now softly sit in the center of your chest, the location of the energetic heart. And imagine that your heart is a beautiful star of shining, radiant, living light, shining in all directions, infinite power. As you breathe in, imagine you are breathing in this infinitude of love that surrounds us, that is the very makeup of the universe. Breathing that into your heart. And as you exhale, you can give your own signature of love back to that universal field of love. Creating this parlay between the universe with the breath, giving and receiving from your holy heart. Reside in this rhythm. I'm going to let go of the words for about a minute. Just reside in the rhythm of this giving and receiving of cosmic love. I invite you to gently bring your hands together in the gesture of union, which unites the solar and the lunar, the yin and the yang, the divine feminine and masculine parts of ourselves, and just bowing into your heart and just extending gratitude to yourself for being here, being open to receive, and to being a child of divine love. And let us just release one Om together, with the intention that this Om is going to unite all of our energetic fields, no matter the time, no matter the space. Let's breathe in and first release another sigh, clearing the heart. Breathing into Om. Just letting that vibration shimmer through your being. You can release your hands, gently opening the eyes, coming back. All right. So Fern, I'm going to hand it over to you to put on your co-hosting cap, if you will, if you're okay with that.
Yes, of course. I feel so blissful. My body was, I don't know if anyone else was spinning a little bit in that feeling inside the heart. That was amazing. Beautiful. Thank you, Darren. So for any of you who I have not yet had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Fern Olivia. I'm in Costa Rica, in the Caribbean coast of, it's called Puerto Viejo. And I lived in Santa Teresa for a while, and that's where I got to know Darren so deeply, because during the crazy time in the world, we were bunkered up at one of our dear friend Kata's place, where Darren and some of our other beautiful sound healer friends were staying. And we had the pleasure of creating music and dances and co-creating all of these amazing cacao ceremonies and tribe activations for about 2 years. So we had this amazing portal that we were in, and I fell in love with Darren's music and his voice and his integrity for which he carries out the trainings of sound healing and also the practices of using sound as medicine. So I'm so happy that Darren's here. He can tell you a little bit more about, what brought him to sound healing and a little bit more about his path. But I just want to say that he is one of the most incredible artists that I've ever had the pleasure of co-creating with. And I'm truly honored to be on this call with you, because I'm in my first 2 years of being someone who works with sound and music and my voice and doing voice activation. So I'm a baby in this field, and I'm so grateful to be under the wing of Darren.
Oh, thanks, Fern. That means a lot. And you have been such an encouraging supporter of my music. And, I'm an independent artist, so we appreciate it a lot. It's sometimes hard to feel the response from the network of people out there. And Fern's just given me so much just love and support. And I really appreciate that. It's super encouraging. And it's great to see you actually take flight as well with your partner Maxine, but also just individually. I know you've been on this path now for years too, and you're really starting to shine in the world. So super excited and excited to have you on the retreat too, and leading some morning practices and stuff for everyone, which is going to be great. But just to introduce myself a bit more, sound healing is definitely one of the great loves of my life. And I won't get into the whole background story of how I discovered it, because it's actually quite an elaborate story. But the gist of it is that I discovered it about 15 years ago. I was actually a Chinese medicine practitioner, or rather studying to be a Chinese medicine practitioner, and was one for a number of years. But I never felt fulfilled on that path. And it was very serendipitously that I found sound healing actually from my astrologer, who I now see every year on my birthday, because she utterly changed my life in that first session, when she told me that my true path was to be a spiritual teacher and a sound healer. And I had no idea what sound healing was, but I excitedly went home and Googled it, and that Google search literally changed everything. What I discovered just from that initial search, the science and the spirituality and its convergence, that sound healing really illuminates, was really one of the big draws that brought me in. I'm a Gemini, and I'm also just someone who just loves to be alive in a time where so much is uniting. As much as the world is so divisive, seemingly, there's an incredible unity that is burgeoning in the world, which is so profound. But over the years, I've been working with the crystal bowls as my primary instrument, but that dovetailed very nicely with always being a composer on guitar and other instruments. I eventually started recording albums, which was always a dream of mine. And that's been a beautiful journey in itself. And it really culminated I'd say about 5 or 6 years ago, when I decided to take things to the next level and start training people in sound healing. Now, teaching sound healing had always been there since the advent of my journey, actually. I was so passionate about education and being a teacher. So I was always teaching little workshops, even before my sound journeys, like mini half-hour workshops, just on the theory behind it. There's just so much fascinating stuff. And that became longer workshops. And then eventually I started teaching intensives as a level 1, and then people wanted the level 2. And then eventually I decided to create the source resonance training, which is slowly becoming an academy in itself, as I sort of come to grips with the fact that, wow, I have now over 100 graduates and they still want to learn more. And there's such a community because it's such a small, still kind of fringe thing, sound healing, although it's just exponentially growing. But it formally started a 75-hour training, which I was teaching in Toronto, Canada, where I'm from originally. And then I got invited in 2019 from a dear mutual friend of ours in Costa Rica, Tish, who also invited me to play the Envision Festival. And she said she wanted to learn sound healing, so why not put on a sound healing training retreat in Costa Rica? And that birthed the week-long training intensive retreat that I'll be running early next year. And I've run it now 3 times in Costa Rica at the beautiful Posada Natura, my favorite retreat center. And it's just been an absolute joy to see how enticed people are by this paradigm. And just like yoga teacher trainings, some people who come to the trainings, they don't necessarily want to be sound healers. They just want to deep dive into sound healing itself, which the training is very multi-dynamic in that way. Yeah. You with us, Fern?
I'm here. Okay.
Okay.
I didn't know you were done. Okay. So that being said, we can talk a little bit more about what we have going on for the retreats and the training coming up, or we can dive into what's going on in the world and why this is so important right now. Which topic shall we segue into?
I think we should segue into the world, because I'm
what's
sure this
going
Taurus
on in the
full
world,
moon, everything that's happening in America right now, people
Okay.
need some salving grace.
Yeah. So can we talk a little bit about what's been going on in the past 2 years and why sound healing and being an artist with music has been such an amazing, movement for many people. And then also, for example, yoga teacher trainings in the last, before that, yoga teacher trainings were like this trendy thing that everyone was becoming a yoga teacher, including myself. That was like 12 years ago. And there was a big wave of that. And now there's sound therapy and many trainings about voice activation, embodied voice. There's so many people teaching about self-expression. So can you talk a little bit about that?
I'll try a little. I'm a bit long-winded.
A little bit.
Yeah, well, as I kind of hearkened in my first little talk there, I think what's so profound about sound healing is sound and vibration is literally the fabric of the universe. It's pointing to this kind of essential energy that is unified, that is whole, that is one. And this is something that scientists are now initially maybe perplexed by, and now they're in this state of wonderment, and why a lot of scientists are actually turning to mysticism, because they're realizing, a lot of the ancients understood this. And it's been prophesized by many prophecies all over the world of indigenous peoples that we would be moving into this time right now of what the Mayans called unity consciousness. And it is no coincidence that sound healing, in my mind, along with so many healing arts, are becoming deeply impactful. Because I think a lot of people are starting to really realize that the crisis on the planet, at its root level, it's a crisis of consciousness. And the unity that wants to emerge in the world is asking us to do some deep healing so that we can be more in a state of unification, initially in ourselves. The mind and the body duality, for example. That's why things like yoga, I think, have become so popular in America and all over the world, because yoga literally means to yoke, to bring mind and body in that togethering. And I think that's really, really profound and really, really important. And you're seeing this in all kinds of different things as well, with plant medicine, with breath work. And sound healing is just another one of those art forms that is really gripping the world. And I think another reason is because there's so much of an inherent love for sound, for music. There's an immediacy to this art form. The minute people hear music, especially if it's music that they really love, it grips them, it captivates them, it moves their soul, it moves their emotions. I love visual art as well, but I think most people agree that music is that kind of, that's why it was called, music means the art of the muses. It is this kind of ultimate form of art in a certain way, because it really has this direct influence. And when you read some of the mystic poets like Hafiz, he talks about how the soul is music. So there is this kind of resonance. And just to also context what's happening in the world today, because I like to really bring spirituality into the political realm. I think it's important that spirituality shows up in the world as something pragmatic, that it's just not something that we do in the woo-woo zone. And the reason that we're seeing so much duality in the world today is precisely because there is so much unity starting to come through. And the unity consciousness that the Mayans predicted would happen in 2012, that was the beginning of this wave. And since 2012, we've probably seen more divisions in the world than ever. And that's because everything that is not in unity is being shown, so it can be processed, so it can be understood, and so it can be integrated. And the awakening of human consciousness now is to do that, not just on the intellectual level, right? Not with just these two hemispheres of our brain that just bounce things, that is kind of wired for dualistic thinking, which has its place. It's not to throw our brains out. But this is why things like sound healing, which kind of connect us to more of the metaphysical realm, are showing up in people's lives. For one, sound also creates mystical states of consciousness very easily, especially with tools like the crystal singing bowls. The minute those bowls are played, because they're like these monotone drone instruments, they kind of shift us into this heightened, deeper state of awareness and consciousness. And that's probably one of the most common things that people experience when they have sound healing journeys or sound bath. So people are coming to sound journeys and sound baths in droves because they're craving an experience of a different form of consciousness that they're not getting when they turn on the TV or when they look at the news. It's not reinforced when they're walking around in the city. There are, of course, ways that you can re-enchant your world, and the more mystical you become, everything can be a part of that love affair with the great soul of the universe. But there's something about going into a sound journey that kind of turns up the volume of that mystical statehood. And the more that people get into that realm, the more familiar it becomes, the more they are able to relate to it, even in mundane areas. So there's that aspect. And the final thing I'll say is that people reclaiming their voice as a sound healing instrument is so profound. And I don't even think people realize how profound it is to use your voice as a sound healing instrument. If you think about, in yoga, the throat chakra is called Vishuddha in Sanskrit, which means with purity. And you look at what the Vedic yogis were originally saying about mantra, they talk about how sound is an accelerator of spiritual growth. It's kind of like a secret shortcut. And there is this purification that this throat chakra is kind of hearkening to in the Sanskrit definition that happens when you sing. It creates light in the body. This has been scientifically proven. It creates a feeling of lightness because it literally is dematerializing your density. Anytime you've sung, and I encourage you, the next time you find yourself in a dense state like a depression or some kind of grief, to sing and see what happens. It will immediately lift the mood. And this is not a bypass, because usually what happens is it helps the emotions that are kind of stagnant to be brought to the surface, to be looked at. And I literally teach people how to use their voice as a kind of self-excavation tool as well. If there's an issue in your life, you can like dig into it very gently with the voice and start to bring up the emotional material that needs to be released. And the releasing and the transmutation just happens naturally by the vibration of the voice. So that's another profound thing. We're entering into an age of sovereignty where people are wanting to have more control over their consciousness, over their minds, over their being. And the singing voice has always been such a means, and why in some of the most ancient spiritual cultures, like the Vedic cultures of India, sound and mantra was always hand in hand with spiritual practice.
Ooh, and I love that. I love that what you had said about the voice activation, specifically of why we're using voice as medicine. And something that I've been teaching as well is how to use the voice to sing to the body and to sing in areas of our own personal self where we need to create space and heal from either illness or stress or something emotional, physical, energetic. And that's why in ceremony, we are so healed by listening to sound, or also ikaros, or also mantras in a certain frequency with Sanskrit or Gurmukhi. It's like those currents of sound are actually programming our bodies to heal. Same with the crystal bowls, each frequency of each bowl having the power to work with a different energy center in the body. I mean, this is science, and that's something that I love about the sound, because it really can reach people with more of that scientific type mind and awareness that they want to know and have proven that this works. Because I know that if I sing to the body, my own body or someone else's in a therapy, I know that that heals because I can witness it within myself and I see it within another. But for then there to be research backing it up really gives us as sound artists so much credibility in the world, which is also amazing to have that, backing it up. And also around frequencies, around 432 hertz, which is the frequency of nature, of the trees, of the birds, of our own heartbeat. And when we're playing music in that frequency or using sound journeys tuned to 432 or even the other frequencies as well, we're actually harmonizing with nature. Can you talk more about that as well, or the art and the practice that you are using?
Yeah, I mean, you make a really great point about the science, and that's another incredible, hallmark of the age that we live in, is that since the quantum physics revolution, which really started in the early 20th century, and that's kind of defining of how much density there is in the institution of science, that it's taken almost 100 years or more than 100 years for quantum physics to be mainstream. Like, I don't know if someone can write in the comments, if you have children, I don't even know if they're teaching kids quantum physics in school yet. I know when I was a teenager, like 30 years ago, it was Newtonian mechanistic science. And, people wonder why kids are so bored, and why they don't pay attention. Rather, we need to give them riddle and their attention spans aren't working. Well, it's because they're bored. They're being taught how the world works from a framework that is like Windows 98 and it's like 2022, And so when I started to study quantum physics, which was something that I was into before actually finding sound healing, I became so interested in science. And then when I found sound healing, as I mentioned with that first Google search that changed my life, it was all the information that I found. It was the science and the spirituality convergence that really gripped me, that really made me excited. Because the science of sound healing is really based on vibration, and this whole notion of there being these universal fields of energy that are entangled. They literally call it entanglement, which is another word basically for tantra, to weave everything known in the universe. And when you see that, and when you see now that science has sort of humbled itself and is starting to realize that there is these great mysteries occurring in the quantum realm, it's returning a sense of awe to our civilization. And then to bring into the sound healing context, it's accelerating a lot of incredible breakthroughs in the whole science of sound. I mean, on my training retreats, I show a bunch of videos to show people, for instance, the acoustic levitation devices that have been built now to levitate rocks with sound, to an American doctor whose name I can't remember, but he's actually starting to use ultrasound technologies to destroy cancer very quickly in people's bodies. I mean, it's like we're seeing the tricorder from Dr. Beverly Crusher from Star Trek Next Generation become a reality. And that's just the beginning. Like, we're literally just at the awakening process of this. We are starting to enter into a golden age, which I think is defined by a universal sense of truth starting to emerge, where science and spirituality start to no longer conflict each other, but they start to work together and integrate each other. And then it's like, it doesn't matter what religion, what culture you come from, there is this like ground of just like objective almost understanding about how reality works. And that's the beauty of our age too, with speaking of different cultures, to step into mythology for a moment. You can think of someone like Joseph Campbell. Like, all these cultures are saying the same things, just in different like qualitative language. And sound healing, again, like, you look at different cultures, and we dive deep into this in the source resonance training, because I want people to be grounded in the ancient wisdom of it, to really feel sturdy, and knowing that if you ever talk to someone about sound healing, you don't have to feel like you're the new kind of unicorn in the room. You can feel like, wow, Pythagoras in ancient Greece. You can go back to the Vedic mantras. You can talk about the indigenous peoples of Australia and the didgeridoo, which is the oldest sound healing instrument we know of. There's just so much to draw upon. But yeah, for me, the art that I like to bring into the world is part of that, is the education. And what I'm really known for is the sound journey experiences as well, is just giving people this taste of a music that isn't primarily created for entertainment, but rather entrainment, which is a sound healing word, meaning when one frequency starts to positively influence other frequencies to come into resonance with it. And the immersive experience of sound journeys gives that potential to really entrain people into a different experience of music. And this is what the ancients considered music. It was considered medicine. And it's only been since the rise of capitalism where everything has been made into kind of a product to be sold that we've kind of lost touch with that.
Wow, I love all of that you're speaking to, of course. And yeah, it's so interesting what you said about like kids are bored when they're studying in school, and that's why they're acting out. And how amazing that now that even sound healing is in schools too, now that children are learning that element of music beyond the typical band, or but I remember volunteering in a school before and bringing sound healing instruments, or even here in the Caribbean in Costa Rica. One time I brought all my instruments to this event with women and children that had never seen crystal bowls before, and they were
Awesome.
captivated. And how amazing that from such an early age, children can understand how they can heal their bodies or find relaxation, release stress in that natural way. Like, wow. And how parents can even be, that's a whole nother topic too, and how parents can use sound frequencies to pacify children who are like so much energy, and they just need to relax their nervous systems. It's so amazing what we can do with sound healing. And
yeah, I don't know if people saw, there was a viral video years ago of a man with his newborn on his chest, and the newborn was crying, and he just started, I think he used the ohm, but he was just making a long tone. Yeah, and the baby immediately fell asleep. And I looked at it and I'm like, yeah, of course. It's like whenever you make a tone, it puts the brainwave into alpha state, which is like light meditation. And so recently after that, my friend Jess, we were in Santa Teresa in Costa Rica, and we're taking a drive into town to get some food. And her newborn, like a few months old, was crying in the backseat of the car. And I was just like, should I try this? And I said, hey, do you mind if I try something? And she said, yeah, please. And I just took the baby and I just started toning and kind of making even overtone sounds. And the baby immediately like looked at me, like stopped crying, just looked at me in eyes wide and just like captivation for like 5 to 10 seconds, and then just went out, was just like gone, like asleep. And it was so funny. Jess was like, who are you? What was that? I was like, magic. And I just told her, like, no, well, it is magic. It's the magical power of sound, but you can do it too, and I just encouraged her. And I saw her, like, I think last year in when Santa Teresa, when I was living in Templo Lila, another house, she came to one of the events, and yeah, she said she had been using it, and to amazing effect. So that's another just amazing way. I mean, part of the beauty of sound healing is that it's also, yes, we can root back to ancient traditions, but we're also pioneers. And this is the Aquarian age. Aquarius is the archetype of the pioneer. And we are invited, to try and experiment with different tools. I mean, when I got the crystal bowls, like, there was no like how to play the crystal bowls book. There was hardly anything on the internet. I literally just plopped them in my room and kind of said, all right, well, you're crystals. And I'd been working with indigenous healers to work with crystals. And I was like, tell me how I should use you. And literally I would just get into these conversations with them, which sounds very mystical. And it was. And I was, I remember one day just having this intuition. All of a sudden, my grandmother wasn't well, and it was like, you can play for your grandmother, you can send vibrations to your grandmother. And we know now there's scientific studies now with long distance healing that show this actually works. So I would play for her from a distance when I couldn't see her in person. And on the retreat, to bring it back to that again, just because I'm so excited to be in Costa Rica doing the source resonance experience. It's always so deep and so fun. We have a lot of fun. I like to take people into the jungle, and at the retreat center Posada Natura, one of the most amazing things about this retreat center is it's in this town Londres, which literally means London, but it's like the inversion of London. It's the opposite. It's like 200 Costa Rican little town. It's the last town before there's just jungle all the way pretty much from the Pacific to the Caribbean. It's one of the oldest and longest chains of just jungle. And you really feel that you're just on the edge of just Gaia. And on top of that, Posada actually stewards 1,000-acre nature reserve 10 minutes away by car. So on one of the days of the training, we drive into this nature reserve and we take a beautiful hike to some waterfalls and to the rivers. And we experiment with singing to nature. Because there's a lot of ancient wisdom that we can actually charge and give strength to nature and receive frequencies in kind. It's kind of like eco-spirituality. So yeah, I want to emphasize that we're here to also like pioneer. And I love that you've had experiences with children, Fern, too, because I also had the opportunity to work with a friend's wellness network, youth wellness network in Toronto years ago. And I would teach kids sound healing and give them experiences. And it was just amazing to see their wonder and to witness some of them are getting very awakened to this stuff.
Well, it's like their natural, their natural crystal frequencies. So, it's their feeling instead of the distorted vibration of, some music in 440 with lyrics that aren't necessarily healing, and then they can hear sound healing and overtones, which is their pretty much their natural light language. Their natural language is the crystalline energy of the universe. And so sound healing is so pacifying to their nervous systems. I believe that instead of hearing and feeling all the distortion, they're going back home. And I think that's why for us too as adults, we also feel that relief. Why sometimes in the sound journey we're able to drift off into these very beautiful dreamlike states, because it's such an environment of pure, just pure channeling from the artist. For example, for you, when you give your sound journeys, which is why I believe you're such a master in that, is that you're in pure channeling. You're not thinking, some sound healers have a whole, there's some art and a rhythm to it, but you can tell that you're not in your ego. It's pure source moving through your body, pure source moving through each instrument. And when you feel someone with that artistry moving in that way of like complete synchronicity with God, with source, with spirit, it takes the person receiving it into peace because they can just surrender and know that their soul is safely carried.
Yeah, and that's definitely one of the pillars of source resonance, is what I call the path of the sacred musician. Because
Mm,
a lot of musicians who are well trained and well honed in music making are actually transitioning into sound healing. And also for those who are just becoming sound healers just from their first musical expression, um, I like to really, detail that path of like, this is a sacred art. It does
mhm.
bring a lot of what musically one would call improvisation, but really is, when you trace back to what the ancients discuss as music being the art of the muses, being this connectivity to these angelic ethereal beings. There is this kind of knowing that is coming forth that, hey, we're transmitters here, we are instruments for the divine. And the more people hone their craft around that intention, and this is something we go deeply into about, how to set the scene for a sound journey or any sound
Mm,
work, how to open up that context, that you are humbly opening yourself to be an instrument for the divine, even going into things about spiritual protection as well, because whenever you
yeah.
open yourself to those other realms, you're working in subtle realms where, just like in our
Mm,
realm, there are kind of uncomfortable experiences and maybe not nice people. In those realms, there are also entities and such that maybe don't have our best interest. Nothing to be overly concerned about, to be honest. The more I've trained and studied esoteric stuff, we are profoundly powerful in ways that are just untapped. And the more we actualize those powers, it's incredible what our destiny is becoming. So yeah, sound is this amazing medicine. Yeah. I wonder if we
thank
should open it up to any
you.
questions. And I mean, this is also a time because we've really wanted to be candid about this being a webinar to introduce some of the sound healing stuff. But I know some of you may be interested in the source resonance training that we're doing in Costa Rica early next year. But if you have any questions about anything that I've been sharing about or that training, feel free to unmute yourself, or you can even type it in the chat if you're more comfortable that way. Yeah, let it fly. Let me turn on the speaker view and just see here. Gallery view. Is everyone fulfilled? Satisfied? Oh, Camellia asks, are you planning to do any online training? Yes, for years I've been wanting to put together an online training. There's an obvious challenge with the deeper dynamics of sound healing, and that, like, all the instruments that I use, it's very hard to capture them with microphones. But I do have media people that I work with that I have talked about doing something with. I really love in person, but I know that the online learning environment is very big. So short answer is yes, something. I just don't have a timeline, but there will be something upcoming. I've actually already laid out like a 4-part series for it. So yeah, something will definitely be coming through the pipe at some point. Anyone else? See a lot of muted microphones. Well, we can carry on then, but feel free if you want to throw something in the chat, then by all means we can go for it. But how about maybe I just give a little description of the source resonance experience for people, um, which will be online one day. um, but yeah, so source resonance, the experience that I'll be teaching in Costa Rica, and I also teach it as intensives, 2-day intensives. In Scotland right now. I was recently in Wales, where my oldest ancestors are from, actually, and I had the beautiful experience of teaching a 2-day source resonance intensive there. And over the summer, when I was back in my home country of Canada, I actually taught a 2-day intensive there. In Costa Rica, we'll be doing the more elaborate 7-day experience. And really, this is about going into everything from just the beginning theory about what is sound healing, what is the ancient wisdom on the matter, to getting into what does it take to really be a sound healer? Like, what does it take to hold a sound journey, a sound bath, to work with groups? We do a huge amount of information and practices about sound healing as a self-healing journey as well, because using the voice, again, working with crystal singing bowls, can be an individual journey, which is really profound as well. So we do a lot of activities with the voice. So it is, as much as it's an educational training experience, I want to highlight the retreat intensive aspect of it too, because it is a deep dive into you embodying these practices. You're going to be vibrating your voice so much in very intentional ways for that week that you will shift, you will have transformations. I have seen people go through incredible, even life-changing transformations just by using sound intensively for a week. On top of that, I'll be sharing a sound healing concert one of the nights and playing a lot of sound journeys here and there. And then just, additional things that are kind of like not necessarily exclusive to sound healing, but at least in my world, I've kind of webbed them all together, is shaking medicine and ecstatic dance. So shaking medicine has been actually something that I've trained in with Dr. Bradford Keeney, and it was a very integral aspect of my growth as an artist, because when people start to use their voice as more of a performance sound healing tool for groups and sound journeys and becoming artists that share their work in front of others, there's inevitable inhibitions that come up. And it is about this journey of perpetually freeing more of your artistic expression. And for me, going into these shaking medicine experiences where we shake our bodies ecstatically and really invite ourselves to be in an uninhibited state were integral to my growth as an artist, and still are. There's still medicines that I use constantly. And we have a very big celebration at the end of the journey with ecstatic dance, which highlights another aspect of the training, which is fun. We have a lot of fun. I believe that the religion of the Aquarian age is the religion of play. And when we play together and we play games and we do sound games, it invites our childlike innocence. It invites our wonder. And it also games, when you play games together, it brings the group together in more of a community feel as well, which is really important that we support each other as we go through these transformations, because it is very powerful and very profound. And Posada Natura, as I've sort of described, is this wonderful retreat center. And one of the other great details about Posada is that there is this beautiful, grand river Naranjo that's flowing just beneath us. And I know when people come on site, they're kind of like, whoa, that river is very loud. And so we have this constant sound of nature. And one of the most healing sounds, actually, in the world, scientifically proven, is the sound of water. And water coaxes your emotions to move. It has a soothing effect on the brain. It regenerates the nervous system, just the sound of it alone. But of course, we can actually get in the water each day and do our daily ablution, cleanse ourselves. So Costa Rica is definitely like the guest facilitator there. And my beautiful friend, Ana Clara Carranza, will be the official assistant. And she's from Argentina. She's one of the most well-known and well-loved theater actresses in Costa Rica. And she's now gotten deep into healing and psychodrama. And she just brings this incredible Shakti, luminous vibe to the whole thing. And then, as I mentioned, Fern's going to be there with her partner. And I've asked Fern to help teach some of the warm-up classes in the morning so we can start our day right on the right foot with some yoga and some sound. So it's going to be a really beautiful experience. And if you have any more questions about how to get to Costa Rica and all the ins and the outs, you can always shoot me a message either with email or through social media, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions on that note too, because I know it's also like, how do I get to Costa Rica? And some people haven't been there before, but it's a very easy country to move around. That's why it's such a appealing destination for people. It's fairly easy to travel around in Costa Rica, and the locals, the Costa Ricans, are some of the sweetest people I've ever met. They haven't had a military for over 70 years, I think, and you really feel this beautiful radiance to the people there.
Yes, I
Yeah.
agree with that too. It is a special if you haven't been to Costa Rica, especially with, where the world is lately, like feeling that sometimes chaotic energy. Coming to Costa Rica is a complete reset. I mean, I've been here for 5 years. I've traveled quite a bit within that time, though. Um, I have to say, when I visit other parts of the world right now, like I'm going to LA with my partner tomorrow, and it's always so noticeable the different energy going into a place like LA or a place like Berlin, or we were just traveling around, going to different cities, and it felt, like this, like, oh my gosh, can't wait to get back home to Costa Rica, because there is that energy of pura vida. It truly is. I mean, you see behind me if that banana is hanging, and I'm surrounded by jungle just on my porch, and we're connected to nature so much here, and and the elements of sound. I mean, it's so funny that you hear, sound healing sometimes recorded music of the waterfalls and the waves and the birds and the crickets, and that's literally how we sleep every night out here. So it really does reset your nervous system to be here for an extended period of time, whether that's a week or whether you extend your trip and come longer. If you're craving that sort of, rebalancing and recalibration for your nervous system, for your heart, for your body, if you're healing through something physically or energetically, this, coming here to Costa Rica is always a good decision, and we're so happy to help you. I'm helping Darren actually manage the signing up for the retreat, so you can contact me specifically if you need help getting here or understanding how to get to Posada. Booking a small flight, a small plane from the bigger airport, for example, or booking a shuttle. Just so happy to help you with all those logistics, because living here for so long, I've had to do a lot to get around the country. So I understand that the first time can be a little like, oh my goodness, I'm going to a new place for the first time, and how do I get there? So
Totally.
yeah, just so excited to meet. For any of you who are thinking of coming, I'm excited to meet you more, and we can also have conversations if you have more questions about the retreat specifically, and if it's right for you. I'm so happy to hop on a call with you and understand a little bit more about what your intentions are, and how this experience could help you step more into your voice and voice activation, whether you're doing sound facilitator as a career or something that you want to do just for, yourself and your own personal evolution. So all of that, I'm here, and pleasure to connect with you in some way.
Thanks, very Fern.
No, you're welcome.
Yeah, and just to answer a few questions in the chat, Eva had asked, is it easy to get to Costa Rica without the COVID jab? Yeah, it's actually pretty easy. They're pretty easy peasy at the borders. The only thing with Canada is going back to Canada. You may have to go through a shorter quarantine now. I'm not too sure, but it's definitely way easier than it used to be. And yeah, Costa Rica, they don't have any requirements, so that's good. Chris Koa, I would love you to be there. See if you can make it happen. And yeah, Heather, feel free to reach out. We can.
I was going to say something about getting back into Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Is my Wi-Fi still spotty for a sec? You guys?
You're good. Oh, now you're frozen. Good old Costa Rica. Sometimes that's one of the only downsides to Costa Rica is the Wi-Fi. But we should probably pull things to a close because we are getting to the hour. So what I just wanted to share as we close, I know I had said I was going to lead a invocation with live sound healing, but I literally don't have the microphones that I wanted to do that with. So what I'm going to do as an alternative is I'm just going to lead us into a brief guided meditation to connect to Mother Earth, because we are in the full moon in Taurus. And as much as we've just had this eclipse, this resetting rebirth, there's a lot of very profound energy in the world. And if we can ground to the earth right now, as we should be every day, it will be very helpful for us moving forward. And then after we do that, I'll do that just for a minute or so. And then I'm going to just play you this beautiful music video that I made. And if you don't want to hang around, that's cool. It's just about 6 minutes long. It's for this song Gaia. And it's just a beautiful video showing scenes of Mother Earth to really just take that connection deeper. So if you would, just take a moment here to just ground and just to close your eyes. And I'm just going to get the music going. Yeah, okay. So music share is on. Okay, here we go. So once again, just finding your breath, closing the eyes, starting to tune into yourself, letting the breath be nice and gentle in the belly, bringing your body into relaxation, letting go of any superficial tensions, perhaps in the shoulders, in the face. As your body softens, the energies of the full moon above us, I invite you to take your awareness to the bottom of your spine, to your root chakra, and imagine at the base of your spine there is a ball of beautiful, shining, crimson red light. Breathing your awareness into the root chakra, drawing in the energies of love and reverence. Begin to imagine that a root of light is emerging from your root center and is plunging respectfully and reverently down into the earth. And it's moving in a spiral, spiraling down and down and down through the many layers and mysterious realms of the underworld. The further you move down, the more of Mother Earth you begin to feel. And imagining that as you inhale, you're drawing in the energy from your descending root into your body, feeling this intimacy with Mama Gaia. And eventually, your root will come to connect to the heart of Mother Earth, the core of Mother Earth, which some ancient indigenous people call the second sun, a giant crystal shining with great light and energy. And feel your root connecting to this great, immense, pulsing heart of our Great Mother. Taking a moment to connect to the heart of Mother Earth and open yourself to receiving a message of wisdom, a symbol, a vision, an image, just residing there for a few moments in open receptivity. Drawing a nice deep inhale, drawing all the energy from Mother Earth's heart into your being, deep and honoring relationship. And slowly start to now pull your root back up through the underworld of Mother Earth, through all the realms of mystery. Slowly and eventually and ultimately come back into your body, And still now feeling that grounded connection to Mother Earth. And just residing in that peace, in that healing serenity, connection with Mother Earth. You can gently start to tingle open your eyes and enjoy this beautiful ode to Mother Earth.
The earth is alive. She is a living goddess. So we sing her prayer. So
Yay. Whoa. Oh, hold on. Still that other music
You're
playing.
there.
Yay.
Oh, so beautiful.
Ah, wow. Yeah, that was a beautiful song that came through years ago when I was first working with Indigenous healers in Canada, and they helped me really fall in love with the, the spirit of Mother Earth. Well, thank you everyone for being here. And yeah, thanks, Jackie. It was great to have you here. And yeah, thanks, Fern, for being here and co-hosting, making us all jealous of your beautiful Costa
You know,
Rican.
it's just so pretty.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to be back there.
Well, I can't wait for you to be back here and for everyone who's thinking about coming. Heather, I see Heather will be contacting me. So I look forward to hearing from you, Heather, and anyone else. This is home to me, and I really love sharing with people what this home feels like. So I hope to meet you soon, and thank you, Darren, for sharing your magic.
Yeah, my pleasure. And you know, I'll be hitting the road a lot next year as well, Costa Rica for the winter, but then I'll be going back to Canada and then Europe again. Scotland is very much going to be my second home. I feel so called to the ancestral land here. So if you're ever in the UK, I'll be spending a lot of time here. And I'm on creative sabbatical right now as well. And I'm just finishing up my first book, which will be published early next year too. So look out for that as well. But yeah, thanks everyone, and wishing you many blessings on this full moon in Taurus. And yeah, such a pleasure to be here with you all. Love you all. Take care. Pura vida.
Vida, blessings. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you, both of you. Blessings.
Our pleasure. Thanks everyone. Yay.